So let's get into the draft because there's a lot of options for this Jets team. We have the 7th overall pick, of course. There's a lot of talk about this Jets team with that 7th overall pick. I've seen mock drafts that have, the most likely, the most common is the word I'm looking for. The most common draft is Armand Membu, Tyler Warren. Those are the two favorites. And then they're sprinkled in. You see Ashton Genty, like we talked about. Some have crazy targets. So who do you think the Jets are going to go at pick number 7? And what's your gut telling you at this point? Not who you want, but who you think they're going to get.
I was going to say, because what I want and what I think they're going to do are two different answers.
Yeah. Give me both.
I would personally take Tyler Warren in that spot. I think they're going to draft Armand Membu, though. If as of today, and who knows, maybe in the next 2 weeks or so that changes. But I think the Jets saw you have a lot of the Detroit Lions coming over here with Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engstrand, and Rick Spielman as an advisor saw what his brother did in Detroit, and they finished that offensive line and really made that their identity. But at the same time, I mean, they also got a really freaking good tight end who catches a shit ton of passes too. So a part of me wants to think like, okay, yeah, they're going to go tight end after passing on a tight end a year ago. But if I had to make my bet today, I would say Armand Membu is the most likely player at 7.
And what's your reaction live on the Talking Jets show when that happens, if that happens?
Well, unfortunately, I already said that I hate Armand Membu and his family, I can't have a positive reaction. But in all seriousness, I would get it. I really would, right? Like, right tackle is an important position. Finishing your offensive line is an important thing to do. I think it would be a safe pick, and it would give the Jets, not writing it in pen or anything, but you have the potential to be a top 5 line in the NFL that is all young and going to be growing and developing together, which would be really exciting.
Yeah, so I think we're aligned on the Jets first round because I want Tyler Warren. That's the guy I want. And the reason for it, outside of Tyler Warren as a prospect, I think last year set us up for this opportunity. Do you remember the debate last year? It's the same exact thing.
No. I blocked it out.
You deleted it from your mind? I don't blame you, right? We have, tackle or tight end, Brock Bowers or Olu or the other tackles in the draft. And I was against Brock Bowers last year, not because of Brock Bowers being a dog like he was. I mean, he's a stud, right? But last year, I didn't want to get a tight end. I wanted to get our left tackle for the future. Tyron Smith was a 1-year guy, and left tackle is a premier position. And thank you, Joe Douglas, for making that draft. Hope whatever you're doing now on the beach, whatever. I think Olu Fashanu was a home run pick last year, and he's going to prove it. But I think that pick gave us the flexibility now to be able to go after a tight end, right? I love Armand Membu, and I think if the Jets get him, I'm going to be happy with the idea of the offensive line being set up for the future. But what Tyler Warren could bring here from a dynamic weapon, the blocking, being a unique weapon out of the backfield where you can do wildcat, have him run quarterback, have him be the quarterback out of the shotgun with Justin Fields split out wide. Like, you can get so creative with Tyler Warren. Like, whenever I watch his film, I'm falling in love with his ability to be a difference maker. He can get a direct snap and take it a 50-yard handoff. Like, you can do so much with Tyler Warren. So I think last year, drafting Olu in the first round gave the Jets the flexibility to be able to pass on the offensive lineman and go tight end in the first round.
And you look at it too, and this isn't revisionist history. I felt this way at the time. Last year's offensive line class versus this year's offensive line class, to me, completely different. There were, 9 offensive linemen that went in the first round last year? I think either 7 or 9. There were a lot of offensive linemen that went in the first round last year. And for as much as we might like, Will Campbell or Armand Membu, that was the better offensive line class. Now, is Brock Bowers, was he a better prospect coming out of college than Tyler Warren is? Yes, but it's not about passing.
Is he though?
I would say yes. I think he did it for longer. Tyler Warren, and it's not a knock. I don't mean that as a knock against Tyler Warren. I just think, Bowers did it at a high level for multiple years. Tyler Warren really came onto the scene this year, I feel like. So that's a bit of a differentiation for me. But could you imagine the spot that they would be in now if they didn't draft an offensive lineman and they needed to fill both left tackle and right tackle?
Dude, tell me about it. And I even thought about it this offseason. Like, can you imagine the Jets went Bowers and we had Tyron Smith last year as our left tackle, and now we have a hole at left tackle? You know how hard it is to fill in the left tackle position right now for these teams that's looking for that? It's basically impossible. Like you said, the draft is not as deep as it is. The free agency class, forget it. There's no left tackles available in free agency. So that's another thing. The market to get these tackles are really difficult. And I think that you could get a right tackle in the middle of the rounds and have him start at right tackle. What's your thoughts of the tackle that we did bring in from New England real quick? I always forget. I say
Chuck Okorafor?
yeah, Chuck Okorafor. I don't know. But Aaron Glenn said he talked to him and said that he quit on the Patriots. Like, weird. Could he be the right tackle? Like, is that a slept-on name that we're not even thinking about that could be the starting right tackle week 1?
I would be a little bit nervous if he's the starting right tackle in week 1. But I will say as a positive for him, in comparison to a Carter Warren or Max Mitchell, who just frankly haven't really shown that they're NFL players yet at this point in their careers. This is a guy who started for a long time in Pittsburgh and was serviceable. He wasn't great. He wasn't horrible. He was an okay starting right tackle in this league. Last year, I don't know what the hell happened. It was a disaster in Pittsburgh. 12 snaps into week 1. He gets benched and he goes, I'm done. They did change his position, though. They tried to have him play at left tackle. I would not be in on that. But if you're telling me, okay, we're going to take Tyler Warren in the first round, maybe you take a wide receiver in the second round. Third round, we're going to go after Ozzie Trapilo. Boston College offensive tackle, played a lot of right tackle, and go into camp, and it'll be a battle between Trapilo and Okorafor for that right tackle spot. I'd be comfortable with that because I think the rookie can win it out, but even if he doesn't, you have someone who could be a temporary starter, and then you're probably hoping by at some point during, midway through the season, maybe you're making that switch and going to the guy you took in the third round.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I agree. And I think, outside of the two guys we're talking about, I feel like that's my only issue with us Jets fans, where we're just thinking there's 2 options. And that's not true. There's many options. And I feel like if there were other guys at pick 7 that you think is likely, is there anybody besides those 2 in Membu and Warren? Maybe not necessarily that you would want, but that the Jets would target?
I definitely think those 2 are the most likely. I don't know about you. I just don't see a world where Tet McMillan's the pick. And I don't dislike Tet McMillan. I would be more open to that than I think the organization, the Jets, would be. But I just get this feeling that the NFL is a little bit more down on him. He's going to go somewhere in the middle of the first round. What about Mason Graham? We haven't talked about Mason Graham yet.
Yeah,
interior defensive line is a really huge need. And this kid was a stud at Michigan for multiple years, was playing at a high level as a freshman, and Michigan plays a really tough schedule. They're not playing, these cupcake teams.
Yeah.
And he's dominant against the run and is a really good pass rusher. So there's a chance that he goes before the Jets are picking at 7, but if for whatever reason Mason Graham's there, I don't think we can rule him out and just go, oh yeah, let's pencil in either Armand Membu or Tyler Warren. That's the only 2 options.
There's another option that I wanted to talk to you about that I saw in a mock draft. Travis Hunter and Maurice Jones-Drew had him in his mock draft falling to the Jets at 7. Not happening. It's a joke. No. I mean, that would be cool. I would love that. But it seems like he's actually going number 2 to the Browns, which is the latest buzz, which killed my dream. I remember hearing Aaron Glenn and Muji talk about Travis Hunter at the combine or wherever it was, and in my head I'm like, wow, I didn't even think about that. What if they traded up for Hunter? That would be cool. But that's not happening. It's a pipe dream. He's a dynamic athlete that I think can fill in 2 holes, corner and wide receiver. But again, that's not happening. Is there a trade down option? I think trading up is definitely ruled out. Is there a world where the Jets trade down and get somebody else? Like some people say they want to trade down and get a Emeka Egbuka or someone like a wide receiver that's not Tet McMillan. Like, is there a trade down scenario?
Yeah, I definitely think so. It depends on how far back you go for names that we're talking about here, but maybe Dallas wants to come up for Ashton Jeanty. They've gone running back early in the draft before. Maybe there was a rumor, and all it is a rumor, but Atlanta is interested in moving up in front of the Saints and the Panthers, who pick 8th and 9th. So maybe they would be a team at 15 that the Jets could fall back to. Names outside of Buka, who I happen to like a lot, by the way. Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, I think would be an option.
In a trade down in the first round?
Yeah, in a trade. I think if the Jets don't trade down, I think he has a chance to go to Denver at 20. They really need a tight end. I could see that.
I see him, if he gets past Denver, I think he's going to the Chargers.
That would make a lot of sense.
We did a full first round mock draft today on 4th and Forever on Roundtable Sports, and I was picking for the Chargers, and I took him for the Michigan connection and all that.
Yeah, that makes sense, and they need more weapons for Justin Herbert. Also, Josh Connerly, the offensive lineman from Oregon, I think would be, like, if you want to move back and still get an offensive lineman, I think that would be a name that would make sense for the Jets.
Yeah, I think the trade down scenario is interesting. I'm going to rule out the trade up. There's a lot of hype around potentially trading up for Cam Ward. That's done. We got Justin Fields. That was maybe a backup plan if we didn't land Fields. Now, the quarterback position is an interesting one. I know that you have a opinion on it. Everybody has an opinion on it. Are the Jets going to draft a quarterback? I actually saw a report that Jordan Schultz put out there. He actually sent it to me. The Jets did a lot of homework on Jalen Milroe. And I don't know how you feel about Jalen Milroe. I saw him at the Senior Bowl with my own eyes. He didn't look good. Now, the Senior Bowl, now it doesn't mean he's going to be a bust. He went out there in the combine and spun it, right? He looked really good at the combine. Jalen Milroe is literally the perfect guy to get if you want to develop a Justin Fields system, because he kind of is the same type of quarterback, can run very well, athletic, but doesn't really throw the ball extremely well down the field. Of course, the Jackson Dart name, there's like legit buzz around the Jets and Jackson Dart. Is there a world where we get someone at 7, trade up back into the first round to land Jackson Dart to have that competition with Justin Fields? Is that an option? Of course, we saw people mock the Jets getting him at 7, which I do not want them to do at all. There's other guys out there in the later rounds that I'm sure that we've talked about. So what's your thoughts right now, a few weeks away from the draft? Are the Jets getting a quarterback now, or are they going to wait until next draft?
I think you wait until next year. For me, and I know everyone has their own opinions on the quarterback, so I'm not telling you how to feel, but for me personally, I don't love where most of these guys are going to go. Like, if there's a world where you can take Jackson Dart in the 3rd round, or a world where you can take, Jalen Milroe in round 3, then I'd be willing to take that swing. But unfortunately, I think both of those guys are likely either going to go at the back end of the 1st round or early in the 2nd round. And I think the expectations that come with a quarterback that's going to go in the 1st round or at the top of the 2nd round isn't necessarily fair for the kind of prospect that they are. But because they're a quarterback, they're going to get overdrafted. So I would rather forego taking a quarterback this year, fill out the roster. We listed off a million needs that the Jets still have on this roster that you could attack in the draft. And I would be using your top 3 picks in particular on trying to find guys who could be impact players for you in year 1 right away. So I'd rather wait and try to get the quarterback next year and just see what you have with Justin Fields this season.